The Duchess of Sussex shared the unexpected clip of her and Prince Harry dancing just before the birth of their daughter.
Prince Harry has faced criticism from every angle: media, royals, and even entertainers. But no one expected the viral moment that unfolded at an exclusive charity gala. A world-famous pianist openly mocked Harry's rumored interest in music, brushing him off with a smirk seen around the globe. But what happened next left jaws on the floor. Harry sat at the piano, and within moments, the entire room fell silent. What he played shocked everyone. Was it talent, passion, or something deeper? What followed turned mockery into a standing ovation heard worldwide. Young princes tinkering at the piano. In a world where news can sometimes feel heavy and overwhelming, it's the small, joyful moments that remind us of life's simple pleasures. Recently, a charming video from 1985 resurfaced, capturing a rare and heartwarming glimpse of two of Britain's most beloved royal children, Prince William and his younger brother, Prince Harry, joyfully playing the piano together. This delightful clip is exactly the kind of wholesome content the world needs right now. Imagine a tiny Prince William, just 3 years old, perched on a piano bench, sharing the seat with a very little Prince Harry, only 1 year old at the time. The pair are full of boundless energy, their small fingers pounding the piano keys with all the enthusiasm and carefree spirit only toddlers can muster. The video was filmed during a royal photo shoot, a moment when the cameras were rolling and the world's attention was on the royal family. Yet, here are these two little boys, completely absorbed in their playful exploration of music, unaware of the grandeur around them. What makes this video even more touching is the presence of their parents nearby. Their father, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, and their mother, the much-loved Diana, Princess of Wales, watch over them with gentle smiles and fond expressions. In the background, photographers busily capture the scene, eager to freeze these precious moments in time. But for those watching this video now, it feels less like a staged photo shoot and more like a warm family snapshot. A brief window into a happy and innocent childhood. It's fascinating to reflect on this moment, especially knowing that neither William nor Harry went on to become accomplished pianists. Despite this early spark of interest, their musical journey didn't continue in the way one might expect, which is a little surprising given the royal family's long-standing tradition with music. For instance, their father, Prince Charles, wasn't just any member of the royal family. He was a keen musician himself during his school days. Back when he was a young boy, Charles played multiple instruments, including the trumpet, piano, and cello. However, as he grew older and moved into university life at Trinity College, he chose to focus only on the cello, which remained a passion for some time. This love for music even stretches back further in the royal lineage. Queen Victoria, one of Britain's most famous monarchs, was also known for her musical talent, particularly on the piano. Although William and Harry might not have pursued formal piano lessons or musical careers, their early enthusiasm for music is something truly worth celebrating. It reminds us all of the joy of discovering new interests as children, those moments when the world feels full of endless possibilities, and the simplest things like pressing piano keys can fill a room with laughter and happiness. This small, rediscovered video does more than just show two boys playing piano. It takes us back to a simpler, quieter time. It lets us pause and remember what childhood is really about: curiosity, playfulness, and the joy of family togetherness. For just a couple of minutes, watching their innocent, carefree expressions helps us forget the pressures and complexities of the world and simply enjoy a moment of pure, unfiltered happiness. So here's to Prince William and Prince Harry, not as polished musicians, but as little boys exploring the world with wonder. This video is a beautiful reminder that sometimes the best music comes from the heart, And the happiest memories come from sharing simple moments with loved ones. This flashback probably erupted after the night that music called on Prince Harry, when he was challenged to play some notes. Let's dig into the details of the historic night where Prince Harry silenced the world. A royal challenge. The royal rumor mill didn't just hum quietly that evening. It exploded like fireworks on a summer night. What started as soft whispers and sneaky sideways glances among the guests soon grew into a whirlwind of excitement and disbelief. Could it really be true? Had Prince Harry, the beloved royal known for his warm smile and genuine heart, just been publicly challenged to a piano duel? And not just anywhere, but in front of a crowd filled with dignitaries and glittering stars? Prince Harry was no stranger to the spotlight. He had walked countless red carpets, attended many elegant ceremonies, and supported numerous charitable causes. But nothing in his life as a royal had prepared him for the unexpected drama that unfolded that very night at the Harmony for Hope Gala. The event was held in the grand and historic Kensington Palace, a place dripping with history and regal charm. The evening was meant to be a peaceful celebration of classical music and generosity, a chance to raise funds for those in need. Guests arrived dressed to impress, wrapped in shimmering gowns and sharp tuxedos, their smiles as bright as the sparkling chandeliers overhead. The soft hum of violins filled the air, mingling with the gentle clinking of champagne glasses, creating an atmosphere of calm elegance. Prince Harry appeared exactly as everyone expected, poised, confident, and warm. By his side was Meghan Markle, glowing with grace and kindness. Together, they moved through the crowd, shaking hands with generous donors, congratulating talented young scholarship winners, and sharing heartfelt moments with children who could hardly believe they were standing so close to real royalty. It was a night to remember, a night of hope and harmony. But then, just as the evening seemed to be flowing smoothly toward its gentle close, everything changed. The host stepped forward to announce the final act, a world-renowned pianist, the virtuoso Lang Lang, who was known for breathtaking performances on stages around the globe. The room burst into applause as he took his place at the grand piano. Lang Lang's fingers hovered above the keys, and then, in a moment that stunned everyone, he spoke, his voice clear and confident, breaking the peaceful spell. "I have played in the grandest halls of the world," he said, "but tonight I want something different. We are here surrounded by royalty. But tell me, when was the last time a royal actually played? Truly played?" The room fell silent, every eye fixed on him, waiting for what would come next. Then, with the calm certainty of a man issuing a historic challenge, Lang Lang said the words that sent shockwaves through the ballroom. "Your Royal Highness, I challenge you. One piece, one piano. 1 month from now, at the Royal Albert Hall." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed like lightning, capturing every stunned expression. Faces turned in disbelief. Whispers turned into excited chatter. The atmosphere, which had been so composed just moments before, now crackled with anticipation. Prince Harry's face remained calm, but only just. Behind his steady gaze, a flicker of surprise and determination flashed. What would he say? Would he accept this bold, unexpected challenge? Lang Lang gave a graceful bow and then launched into a powerful, fiery Rachmaninoff prelude. The music thundered through the room, filling every corner of the palace with passion and energy. But even as the last note faded away into silence, no one was focused on the music anymore. All eyes were on the prince. The question hung in the air. Would Prince Harry rise to the occasion? Would he prove himself not only a royal but a pianist? The night, meant to be a quiet celebration, had turned into the start of an extraordinary story. One that would be told for years to come. Before we delve into the details, let's take a look into the scenes that echoed in Harry's mind, reflecting his musical journey. Echoes of the past. That night, Long after the gala had faded into memory and the last guests had departed from Kensington Palace's shimmering halls, Prince Harry found himself wandering alone through a rarely visited part of the palace grounds. The streets were silent, almost deserted, and the vast night sky stretched overhead like a dark, endless canvas sprinkled with countless stars. They seemed like quiet companions, watching over him with an understanding born of time, knowing his story, but offering no words. Drawn by an unspoken impulse, Harry slipped through a narrow passage leading to a forgotten wing of the palace. There, tucked away from the grand spectacle, was a small room once used as a nursery for royal children, now transformed into a cozy but dusty reading room. The air held the faint scent of aged wood and lingering memories, as if time itself had settled there. In one shadowed corner stood an old upright piano, neglected and silent. Its faded wooden frame and yellowed keys spoke of years untouched. Yet when Harry's fingers brushed over the keys, a spark flickered within him. A sudden rush of memories, soft but vivid. He thought back to his childhood, to the disciplined days at Ludgrove Prep, to the gentle voice of Miss Dempsey who once told him, "Listen to the silence between the notes, that's where the music truly lives." Her words had quietly echoed in his mind through the years. Most of all, Harry remembered his mother, Princess Diana. He could almost see her, the warmth in her smile, the gentle grace as she sat at the piano and played for him and William. The music filled the room with magic, lightening their hearts and making them forget their troubles. "Music," she had said, "is how the soul speaks when words fail." In that hushed moment, standing before the piano in the dim light, Harry felt a resolve harden within him. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Simon," he said quietly but firmly, "find me a piano technician. Then find me a teacher, someone discreet." 3 days later, the teacher arrived, Sir Edward Avery. Sir Edward was no ordinary man. Once a maestro who had performed in the world's grandest concert halls, he was forced into silence after a stroke ended his career. For years, he had shut the door on teaching, turning away from music and students alike. But now, something in Harry's call had stirred him. When Sir Edward entered the palace, Harry greeted him simply. No royal titles, no ceremony, just two men ready to meet. "You called for a teacher," Edward said, sizing him up. "Why?" Harry met his gaze steadily. "Because someone once believed in me, and I don't want to let her down." No more needed to be said. Sir Edward knew exactly who Harry meant. Their lessons began at once, tough, relentless, often painful. Harry's fingers cramped, his wrists ached, and Sir Edward showed no leniency. "You play like you're afraid of the piano," he told him one day. Harry did not flinch. "I've spent my life asking for permission," he said firmly. "But not anymore. Music doesn't bow to anyone." From that night on, everything changed within the palace walls. The strict royal routine softened, allowing Harry time to practice. Meetings ended early, breaks turned into moments at the piano. The quiet halls, once filled with silence, now echoed with notes. Tentative at first, growing louder, fuller, more confident. But Harry's goal was not mastery alone. What he sought was something deeper, a path back to himself. Beneath the weight of expectations, pain, and struggle lay a part of him that had been lost. With each note played, each scale practiced, he slowly reclaimed that hidden piece of his soul, one key at a time. Coming back to reality, did Prince Harry accept the challenge? Did he give in to the mockery? Let's find out. The crescendo. Once, Sir Edward had looked Prince Harry straight in the eyes and said with blunt force, "Your fingers will bleed long before the press does." At the time, Harry had thought it was just an exaggeration, perhaps even a little cruel. But those words would prove to be more truth than warning. Because hidden behind the carefully curated royal smile, behind the waves to the crowds and the straightened collar of duty, something inside Harry was beginning to stir. Something raw, human, and long buried. Music became the doorway. Each time his fingers found the keys, shaky, hesitant, unsure. It wasn't only about learning scales or memorizing notes, it was about waking up. Each chord felt like he was piecing himself back together, note by fragile note. Piano practice, once a forgotten memory from his childhood, had become his escape. A quiet rebellion against the noise of royal life. And he practiced with a kind of hunger. Wherever he could find time and space, under dinner tables during official meetings, in the backseat of waiting cars, while the world still slept, he practiced. Alone, unseen, determined. To the world he remained the polished prince, poised, composed, untouchable. But in private, he was a man on a deeply personal journey, wrestling with melodies, yes, but also wrestling with himself. The media, as always, caught wind of something. Whispers floated through headlines. Was Prince Harry about to perform in public? Was this just another royal spectacle? Speculation buzzed, doubts echoed. Critics prepared their pens. But Harry stayed silent, unbothered. This wasn't about performance. It wasn't about the stage. It certainly wasn't about proving anything to the tabloids. He wasn't doing it for the cameras. He wasn't even doing it for Lang Lang, the world-famous pianist whose skill could outshine 100 spotlight performances. He was doing it for someone who could no longer applaud him, his mother. For Miss Dempsey, the kind piano teacher from his boyhood who once whispered, "Music opens hearts, Harry, especially the broken ones." And for that lonely little boy he used to be, the one who sat quietly at the edge of a piano bench, dreaming of something more. Then came the night. The Royal Albert Hall glittered in gold and hushed expectation. The audience buzzed with anticipation. Cameras zoomed in, while critics leaned forward. Lang Lang appeared first, his fingers gliding like water over the keys, casting a spell over the room. Then a second piano, quietly lit, waiting. And from the shadows stepped Harry. No crown, no medals, no bodyguards flanking him. Just a man in black, walking slowly, deliberately towards the piano. He sat not as a prince, not as a performer, but as a son, as a seeker, as someone who had finally remembered how to feel. And then he played. Not with perfect skill, not with polished showmanship, but with honesty, with emotion. Each note seemed to carry a heartbeat, a memory, a tear held back for too long. It wasn't just music, it was a story. It was healing. It was Harry, unmasked. And when the last note hung trembling in the air, the hall did not erupt into applause. Not yet. For a moment, the silence was complete, but it wasn't empty. It was full of recognition, full of meaning. It was that rare, sacred silence Miss Dempsey used to call the music behind the music. Because sometimes applause isn't necessary. Sometimes the moment is its own reward. The performance is not about applause, but about coming home, about redemption, about love, about a son finding his voice, not as royalty, but as a man. And in that golden stillness, the world didn't see a prince trying to impress. They saw a man trying to heal, and they listened. What happened after the challenge? Did Harry return to music, as suggested by some of his fans? Let's delve into Harry's quiet return to music. A royal's quiet return to music. After stepping out of the royal spotlight and leaving behind the constant gaze of the media, Prince Harry entered a new and quieter chapter of his life. Away from the grand palaces, official duties, and public pressure, he was no longer defined by the crown. In that stillness, something unexpected began to stir within him, not something grand or political, but something personal and deeply human. His forgotten love for music. It all began in the most unassuming way. When his son Archie received a small, toy-like keyboard as a gift, no one thought much of it. But one evening, as the house lay in peaceful silence and the world outside seemed to pause, Harry sat beside the little instrument. With everyone else asleep, he tentatively pressed a few keys. 3 clumsy notes rang out, quiet, imperfect, yet powerful. Those notes, though simple, echoed in a part of him that had been silent for years. This was not about making headlines or reclaiming fame. It was something far more intimate. Music, he realized, could be a quiet rebellion, a path to self-healing, a way to reconnect with the boy he once was, before the titles, the photographers, and the expectations. It wasn't long before the toy keyboard was replaced with a real piano. His home began to shift in mood. The walls no longer echoed with palace protocols but with melodies, sometimes raw, sometimes refined, always honest. His taste in music took a turn as well. Pop songs were replaced by the timeless compositions of Mozart, Beethoven, and Debussy. His bookshelves, once lined with political biographies and royal histories, now shared space with volumes on music theory, mindfulness, and emotional healing. He wasn't trying to master music for performance, but for peace. But then, a bold idea began to form, not for attention or applause, but to challenge himself and to step further into this new identity. When the news broke that Prince Harry would perform publicly with the renowned pianist Lang Lang, the reaction was explosive. Some laughed. Some were genuinely intrigued. From prince to performer, the tabloids chuckled. But Harry didn't mind the noise anymore. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a personal milestone. To him, sharing a stage with one of the world's greatest pianists wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about honoring a part of himself that had long been buried beneath duty and decorum. It was about finding joy, release, and a sense of purpose in something profoundly different from royal life. In the music, Harry had discovered more than sound. He had found sanctuary, a space where he could be vulnerable without judgment, expressive without fear. This wasn't the story of a prince escaping a palace. It was the quiet, powerful journey of a man reclaiming his voice, through notes, not headlines. Let's delve further into his journey in music. The relentless pursuit of truth through music. Prince Harry's transformation was far from smooth. It wasn't glamour, privilege, or tabloid headlines that shaped this chapter of his life. It was the quiet, relentless discipline of music. Guided by the stern but brilliant Sir Edward Montrose, a veteran British pianist known for his sharp tongue and even sharper ear, Harry was thrown into a world that demanded more than titles or charm. "You're not here to impress," Edward had said at their very first lesson. "You're here to remember who you really are." Gone were the mornings of jogging and a casual routine. In their place came hours of practicing scales, perfecting finger positions, and facing the truth each note uncovered. Podcasts were postponed. Public appearances reshuffled. Everything now bent around the piano bench. It wasn't glamorous. In fact, it was humbling. The piano didn't care about royalty. It only responded to honesty. And Harry quickly learned there was no faking it. At first, the journey was frustrating. Mistakes came often. His hands stiffened. His confidence wavered. There were days when he wanted to quit, when old self-doubts crept in. But Edward refused to let him hide. "Don't apologize to the keys," the maestro snapped during one tough evening. "If you keep playing like you're sorry, the stage will tear you apart." Bit by bit, the music began to reach places words couldn't. Through every note, Harry was peeling back layers he hadn't dared to touch. Grief, anger, confusion. The music became a mirror, showing him who he was beneath the noise of public perception. Edward's tough love cracked through his defenses, not cruelly, but with purpose. Every scolding came with a lesson, every correction a chance to rebuild. Meanwhile, the celebrated pianist Lang Lang, who had once raised an eyebrow at Harry's musical ambitions, watched with amused admiration. "He's always danced to his own rhythm," Lang Lang remarked to a friend. "But now, at last, he's learning to play it." Outside the rehearsal room, the world buzzed with intrigue. The press churned out wild stories, betting on whether the prince's piano dreams would crash or soar. But inside, none of that mattered. Harry played on, not to prove something to the public, but to reconnect with something lost inside himself. Then came a moment that changed everything. A quiet delivery arrived from Kensington Palace. An old, unmarked envelope. Inside was a worn sheet of music, Debussy's Clair de Lune. A note, unsigned, suggested it had once been played by his late mother, Princess Diana. Harry sat alone in his study, the paper trembling in his hands. As he played the piece, hesitant at first, then steadier, the melody carried more than sound. It carried memory, love, and longing. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And in that moment, the music didn't just echo through the room, it stitched together fragments of his past, forming something new, something whole. Harry wasn't just playing music, he was becoming it. Let's take a dive into the details of a concert where Prince Harry played his controversial story. The night the Spare played his story. The day of the concert crackled with anticipation. All around the globe, millions sat in front of screens or leaned close to radios, hearts pounding, waiting for a moment that promised to be unlike any other. Prince Harry, known more for royal ceremonies and global headlines than concert halls, was about to step into a realm both foreign and fragile. Live classical music. The night began with brilliance. Lang Lang, the world-renowned pianist, opened the performance with his signature magic. Every keystroke shimmered with confidence. His hands moved with a fiery elegance, casting a spell over the audience. Then, a hush fell. Prince Harry emerged. He walked onto the stage, not with grandeur, but with quiet strength. He was dressed simply, yet carried with him the invisible weight of a life lived under relentless scrutiny. He sat at the piano. The room held its breath. Harry began to play. It wasn't perfect. A few pauses lingered longer than expected. Some notes came in slightly late or faded too soon. But somehow, that only deepened the experience. Every slight imperfection, every moment of hesitation felt human, deeply, achingly human. This wasn't just a royal dabbling in the arts. It was something raw, something real. Harry wasn't trying to impress. He wasn't performing a show. He was peeling back the layers of his soul, note by note. Through the trembling melodies and deliberate silences, he told a story, his story. A story of love and loss, of duty and doubt, of identity stretched and redefined. He was no longer the Spare, the outsider looking in. In that moment, he was a man, complex, bruised, resilient, using music not to entertain, but to reveal. The audience understood. The hall erupted in applause, but it wasn't the kind that demanded an encore. It was the kind that says, "We see you." It roared and then softened, settling into something more profound. Harry stood, a gentle smile playing on his lips, humble, relieved, and perhaps for the first time, truly at peace. Backstage, Lang Lang approached him. There was no fanfare, no dramatic praise, just a quiet nod and a few simple words. You didn't just play the notes, you played your story, and that was enough. Harry didn't need to defend himself anymore, not with interviews, not with statements, not with books. In those brief, beautiful minutes, the piano had become his voice. A voice that carried pain and hope, memory and meaning. A voice that needed no royal title to be heard. That night, something shifted. Not just for Harry, but for everyone watching. It was a reminder that beneath the headlines and beyond the palaces, there is always a person trying to be understood. And on that stage, through music, Prince Harry found a way to simply be. Not a prince, not a rebel, just a man, a father, a son, a soul speaking in the only language the heart truly understands. So, what do you think about Prince Harry's hidden passion for the piano? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.